Hello, friends, and welcome to the No Bad Shifts podcast, a show for nursing students, new nurses, and all those in healthcare devoted to helping others and making the world for patients a better place. I'm Nurse Duda, your host, here to offer nursing tips, stories, motivation, and conversations with some of my favorite healthcare professionals so we can better learn to collaborate to make the hospital a more positive and supportive environment. Remember, with the right mindset, you really can learn from every day, and there really are no bad shifts. Hello, and welcome back to a new episode of No Bad Shifts. I'm Nurse Duda, and I'm so excited to be here with you today because this is not only something I wanted to do to return to the podcast before the end of the year, to very clearly tell the universe that, I didn't give up on this. This space is still very sacred to me. It matters. It's a place to talk about nursing and healthcare and the struggles and really how can we make nursing and just, the hospital and the health system as a whole a better place for us, because I don't really believe in bad days of work or bad shifts or bad experiences. And it's not that there aren't unfortunate things or horrible things or scary, overwhelming. I just think personally the word bad feels unproductive. So I really try to challenge myself to name anything happening in life. And truly, no matter what is happening to us, I really believe that it's a lesson that we can learn from. There's a way to reframe it and to make it a little bit more positive, or at least just more helpful to our lives moving forward. And also around that, I don't really believe in bad shifts in our own life. And sometimes we get realigned, we get redirected. And I'm here to do the mirror episode to January 2025 when my life felt like it was falling apart. I was completely disgusted and heartbroken with nursing and the hospital and just my work life. And now here we are 11 months later, and I wanted to release this on the 3-year birthday of No Bad Shifts to let her know that I'm here, I'm growing, I'm evolving, and that I really do believe that she's going to be a big part of next year moving forward. So welcome back. When I left this space in January, I was just very distraught. I was unsure about where my life was kind of going, where I wanted to put my time and my energy, because things at my hospital had changed. And long story short, they laid off my boss, and he was so directly tied to the effort that I chose to give at the hospital because I was also very equally supported in return. And when you give a lot to something, but then something also gives back to you, it feels balanced. It feels like I love this give and take, and I'm willing to continue to give so much of myself so long as I can continue doing the things that I wanted to do. And one of those things that I really felt so strongly was that he really supported me and all my travels and work with me and my schedule. And in turn, I was basically leading 2 committees in the hospital, one of which I started from the ground up. I started this whole preceptor council. It was my baby. It was something that I absolutely loved. It was my dream to start a group like this, a committee council for preceptors to come together. And I loved it. And it took a lot of work. And I also was leading our skin and wound committee, which I also loved and also took a lot of work from me and a lot of time that I chose to give. But once this foundation was taken away from me, it really forced me to just reevaluate a lot of things in my life and where my time's going, where my energy's going. And I essentially took a really big step back and just decided to focus on myself. And the ironic thing is how now looking back a whole year later, essentially, I could not be more clear and more aligned and more excited for exactly where my life is headed. And so as we step into this episode, I just want you to know if you are someone who is navigating a difficult change or is unsure of what to do next or where you want your next year to look, I hope this will empower you to truly give yourself that space, give yourself the time, give yourself that permission to evolve and to explore things that that you're curious about and to redirect your energy so you're not so angry at what happened to you. And instead, you start looking forward at what opportunities there are, what is opening up for you, what is life trying to tell you and like offer you that you might not have seen before, that maybe your eyes just weren't open or you just weren't looking that way. But now suddenly things have shifted and it's like, okay, take a breath. Before you immediately just like jump into something else, just look around, see what's around you and where your energy decides to follow. Because last year, I made a goal to get on a plane every single month this year. At the time, it didn't seem like that big of a deal. Like, yeah, I do a lot of traveling. I have a lot of friends I could go see. I do traveling for volunteer things and, it really didn't seem that hard. And alongside that, I picked this year to be the year of expansion. Every year I try to pick a word. Other words in the past have been balance, resilience, voice, empower, and this year was expansion. And so to tie really everything together was like, I want to expand my world and try to go to as many new places as possible. And so with this came along this goal of learning how to solo travel. And February 2025 was my first solo trip that I ever went on, and I have never stopped solo traveling since. And it's been the coolest adventure of my life. It's December 11th, 2025, and so far I am 11 for 11 on getting on a plane every single month this year, and it's just been the coolest opportunity. And I cannot even express how much traveling has shaped me, has helped me to grow, has helped me to heal. And I know that this year would not have looked the same had the events not taken place in January and essentially my life like completely derailed of what I thought my vision was for the year and how much I allowed myself to actually truly live in that and feel it. And I think one of the most important decisions that I made was after all of this happened in January was actually staying committed to this goal of getting on a plane every month. And it was actually booking my trip in January to go see a friend in Fort Lauderdale when I was like cold and sad and down and just really lost. I just moved and I made one small decision to go see a friend and I just moved through that. So it wasn't me deciding my entire life, my entire year, what I'm going to quit, which committees I'm going to quit. It was like, I'm going to let everything breathe and I'm just going to book this flight. And going to Florida in the middle of like horribly cold January in Pennsylvania is probably one of the most healing things that you can do for your soul. And my friend and her husband, they are constantly out on the water, exploring. I had the honor of joining them on these adventures and they gave me a wetsuit and I am literally end of January swimming with sea turtles and fish and I'm taking videos and I'm just like having the time of my life. I honestly kind of forgot about everything that happened at home and that there was like a whole world for me to decide, how I was going to move through this year. And I think part of healing and my like evolution this year as a nurse was learning that work-life balance. I've always felt like I had a strong like work-life balance in the sense that I can leave work at work. I don't really bring my emotions of work or like the heaviness of what we deal with home with me. Not very often at all. But my dedication and devotion to my work was something that I was always bringing home with me. I was always working on little projects or making little flyers and doing all these things. And this year really opened my eyes to how much do I really want to give to an organization versus how much do I want to give to myself and to Nurse Duda. And actually, one of the most beautifully timed things that happened this year was that I was already signed up for this nurse coaching collective program. Essentially, it's like an 8-month program to learn how to be a nurse coach, which is basically a mix between like a wellness coach, a health coach, and like a life coach, which is like truly someday will be like my dream job. But using the skills of being a nurse and our knowledge and our experience in the hospital and treating people and, knowing the health care side of life to support people in the changes that they want to make in their life. Because nurses, we just like know a lot about a lot of random things. We see a lot. And I think we have a lot of really great advice that we can offer to people or just like support in empowering people. And that's essentially what the program was about. So alongside this whole year of being lost and confused, I am already enrolled in this nurse coaching program that's like opening up these new doors, giving me new ideas, surrounding myself with other really driven, heart-led nurses that believe in the future of healthcare, that believe in making the world for patients a better place too. And As part of this nurse coach program, we actually had to do a practicum where we had peer nurse coaches. And I was paired with two of the kindest, most loving people I have met, and was so blessed because my first peer partner, we set out on some personal goals that we wanted to work on. And usually a lot of us, it seemed like it was these little side projects that we had going on or dreams about our futures. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was to push myself to get more of a social media presence on TikTok. But I was really afraid to talk in front of the camera. Sure, I started this podcast, but that was just me behind a microphone. And so this year, back in March, I think I really started posting a lot more on TikTok. And just before December 1st, I hit 1,000 followers. And I know to somebody who, is a huge influencer, that is silly. But to me, it's if I get even one or two of those people to listen to any of the things that I'm saying about nursing, that's a huge win for me. It is a really hard game out there on TikTok, and my God, it is rough. But it's been so fun, really just putting my ideas out there and getting them out to a space that other people could maybe potentially find them or listen to them or share with a friend. And it's been a really cool journey of finding this nurse community on TikTok, that there's other influencers out there who are also trying to do something similar, and we support each other. And just the things that I'm learning from people commenting on my videos, it's been just a really beautiful journey. And instead of me coming home to work on projects for the hospital, every day after work, I sit in my car and I just try to record one TikTok video of just something either that week that's resonated with me or that I would think a new nurse might want to hear. And it's been really cool to look at my TikTok now, because it's I just have all these videos of all these ideas of things that I've learned along the way. And I catch myself teaching new nurses, and it's really helped me to kind of re-engage this new path of energy in nursing. And then alongside this, I really, really, truly got to relive my passion for precepting and mentoring when I had the most amazing orientee this year, who just is an awesome nurse already and is filled with so much excitement and eagerness to learn. And it really was such a gift for me, honestly, because it allowed me to be in the hospital, really show up as me and teach the things that I love to teach. Because even in this whole entire process of finding my direction and realigning myself, I never stopped loving nursing and being a nurse and what it means to be a nurse. I love being a nurse so much, and being around other people who also are starting out on this path and feeling their energy and their excitement to learn and to grow and to make, nursing decisions on their own, and just seeing them really step up and step into their own shoes as a nurse is just it just made my nurse heart so happy. And she is one of my favorite people at the hospital. And we're always constantly checking in with each other, and we go see each other. And it's just been another great way for me to refocus my attention into something that I can influence. Because one of the biggest things I learned this year is that things are just going to happen around us. We cannot control what goes on outside of our own personal lives. Every person will make decisions for themselves, every company, every business. We are not the focus of other people's lives and decisions. We cannot control what other people say or do or how they even act towards us. That is just people being. That is just a company making decisions, but we can control our boundaries. And recently in a podcast that I listened to that really, really stuck with me, the host said, "It wasn't your fault, but it is your responsibility." It wasn't our fault that our boss got laid off. It wasn't his fault. It is a decision that is completely outside of our control. But it is our responsibility to create the life that we want to live and create the experience that we want to have as nurses in an environment that is extremely difficult right now. And I can feel that and sense that across healthcare in all of the United States. I might even argue in the world, from my few data points that I got from traveling. Side note, I was in Barcelona and sat down next to a girl at the hostel I was staying at, and we were all talking, and one of them asked what somebody did for work, and then she said, "I'm a nurse." And this sweet girl is from Japan. They're on a solo trip, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm a nurse too from the United States." And we were talking, and she was like, "I did hospice and palliative care, and I'm just so tired and burned out." And I was like, wow. here we are, two nurses in Barcelona on a trip, literally living on opposite sides of the world, but doing similar work. And we are feeling similar things. And it just makes me believe that the world is suffering right now. Nurses are suffering. Caregivers in general are having a really, really hard time. I get it. We're in financial turmoil probably in the entire world. And that all trickles down to us working with patients. We know this is a business. Things are money driven. And if there's not enough money, then people get cut. Things are going to go short staffed. We are going to get rid of resources and certain supplies that make our jobs easier and safer. And that's not our fault. But I just will still argue that it is our responsibility to do the best that we can with what we have. And now I don't mean that it's our responsibility to fix healthcare as a whole. I do not think that's our responsibility. I do think it is our responsibility to find our own happiness in our own lives. And if we put all our belief into outside forces, we are always going to be at the mercy of an organization, of another person, of some larger collective force. And to me, that completely strips me of my power. And it's not a place I love to be in. I love to be empowered in my life and focusing on my circle of influence of what can I make better and what decisions can I make in my control that can make my life better, because I do believe that is my responsibility. Even if that means like just showing up to work to do your job and do the best job that you can and then walk away and live your life. So yes, I am still working full time. I am still a floating nurse and I am still jumping in and supporting nurses anywhere that I can. I have just graciously stepped away from all these extra things that I was doing, but I closed out these chapters in a way that felt right to me, which is something that I am very proud of, because I did say that in my January episode that like finding the words and the timing that's right for you if you do decide to step away from something. I completed my 2 years of being the chair of our skin and wound committee. I gave out Band-Aid pins to everybody in a little thank you card. And then actually the preceptor council that I had started got absorbed into a different council. So I no longer feel the responsibility to be leading that meeting or to be doing all of these things at home that I used to do to try to make that council successful. And the biggest thing that I'm learning is that I am finally trusting in my own timing of things, that we go on these side quests, we plant these seeds for a reason. And sometimes it's not always obvious, like why we meet somebody, why we are drawn to a certain activity or a hobby, or why we feel pulled to go onto a certain trip or vacation. And sometimes we just have to follow that and trust it. And like I said in my last episode, sometimes, we don't know why these things happen to us, but I bet someday we look back and it all makes sense. And I'm here to tell you that 11 months later, I am sitting here and my life has never made so much sense in my entire life. I am loving my life, the experiences that I'm having. My dreams are bigger than ever. And I can look back on this year and realize that I really, truly put myself first. Like life gave me this opportunity to be like, hey, we're going to give you an easy out. What do you want to do with your time and energy? And I said, I'm getting on a plane. And so for the year of 2025, I traveled to Fort Lauderdale to go see a friend, solo traveled to San Diego, solo traveled to Miami for my 32nd birthday. I went to Portugal with one of my best friends. I traveled to Memphis and then did a solo night in Denver. Solo traveled to Chicago, to Montreal, to Austin, Texas, to London, where I fell in love, to LA, where I feel like my Nurse Duda dreams got bigger and bigger. And last month, I was in Barcelona on a week-long solo trip where my phone was stolen in the first 12 hours. Oh yeah, I panicked at first and was screaming and was extremely angry and frustrated and very unsure what to do next, because low-key, you can't just go buy a new phone and connect it to your phone number when you're in another country. But I think this entire year of me experiencing solo traveling and navigating change and just trusting myself and learning how to discern who is good and who is not and who to trust, and truly just like how to roll with the changes and make the most of what's going on around me that's now out of my control. Like I recognized I was not going to get my phone back, and this could either ruin my trip and I could just go back home, or I can just dance through it and figure it out along the way. Oh yeah, so obviously I opted to just dance my way through it, whether it was salsa or bachata. And I'll tell you, I had the most incredible trip of my entire life, and I barely had any contact with like the real world. And it really just showed me that I am allowed to disconnect. I'm allowed to go off and be my own person and have the experiences that I want to. And even throughout this year, I did another little side quest of starting a whole new podcast called Catch Her Somewhere Else, which I will eventually keep getting back to share my travel adventures and to talk about my journey of becoming a solo traveler and what might look like all these little projects and side quests and things that I've started. I'm finally trusting myself that like it all makes sense later, and to just trust my curiosity and what feels fun at the time. And right now, this felt like the right move and the thing that I really wanted to do. I wanted to reflect on the year of becoming a nurse coach. I got to be in Austin, Texas, and I was at this beautiful natural spring while I was on the call for our like nurse coach graduation. And I literally like went into the water, and it felt like this like huge cleanse of like, I'm allowed to evolve and shift as a nurse. And my goals as Nurse Duda is also allowed to shift and to grow and to dream bigger than ever. And as we finish out December, I have huge goals for myself. So next year is not about getting on a plane every month or trying to see as much of the world as I possibly can. Although now that I can basically plan a solo trip in probably like a day and a half, I do still hope that that happens, and I trust that it will. But my focus is to really build more energy around Nurse Duda and to really take it seriously and to create content for new nurses and really be the voice and guidance that I always wish I had as a new nurse. Because, we can't be doing this bedside thing forever. And while part of me, I think, will always want to be a bedside nurse to some degree, my real goal is to become so financially independent that I can work per diem and work when I want, and also go travel the world, or go pick up a travel contract and work for 3 months and then take 3 months off and go travel the world and take the podcast around and connect nurses worldwide. No, it might sound lofty, but I literally couldn't even imagine the year that I manifested in 2025. So, I'm done playing small, and you should be done playing small too. And the really ironic thing about this year was that back in January, I recorded that episode and mentioned about being a travel nurse and how like it used to be a lifelong goal, but I no longer had to think about that because I got the chance to travel and to be a nurse without being a travel nurse. And then fast forward throughout the year, and I actually connected with like the most amazing travel nurse recruiter. We still are in contact. She knows that I'm not ready right now, but I essentially have everything in place to become a travel nurse when the time is right. And even weirder that Pennsylvania finally became a part of the National Licensure Compact, where, now we have our multi-state license if we choose to get it, which immediately applied for it back in like July when this all went through. And so, yeah, I have a recruiter. I have my multi-state license, and all I have to do is give her the all clear, and I'm out of here. And I'm in no rush. I love the life that I have at home now that I have like decentered the hospital setting, and I have put so much time and energy into myself. I love that I can live at home and essentially use the money that I am saving to travel and see the world, because that's been the most important thing to me right now. So anyway, this has just been a nice recap for me to reflect on the year, to really believe in the idea that there are no bad shifts and realignments in our life, that what might look like derailment might actually be realignment. So as your official nurse coach, I invite you to take some time at the end of this year and really reflect on your life, where you are right now and where you want to be next year, and see if you can pick your word. Pick your 2026 word. I think it's such a fun way to pick something simple. It's not a new year, new me. It's like, no, what's my intention for next year? How do I want to like shape my decisions and my life? And what would help me to live a more fulfilling life for myself? So go ahead, think about it. Reach out to me at Nurse Duda on TikTok. It's where I'm most social, and would love to hear like, what's your word? What's your intention? Or what's your theme? What's your mantra? What's your phrase for next year? Whatever it might be, but something that feels accurate and empowering and energizing to you, that it's something simple that you can kind of tie into all these aspects and areas of your life, so that you can look back next year and be like, that was exactly the year that I wanted to have. And so for me, 2026, my word is momentum. This is something that I sort of picked like a few months ago. I was like, ooh, I think I have my word for next year. Since this year was all about expansion and trying new things and seeing what I like, seeing what I don't like, how do I want to put my time and energy and what fulfills me, and starting some new things. And next year is about taking all of that and moving forward with it, but at like a whole new exciting speed. Like I'm ready to like build energy and momentum around the things that have already worked, that already excite me, and see where that takes me. So just remember that no matter where you are in your life, that you are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to look at all your options. You are allowed to see what brings you the most energy, realign yourself, cut people out, whatever you need to do to stay in alignment with yourself and to keep living the life that you are excited to wake up to every single day. Or at least most days. So thank you so much for being a part of No Bad Shifts. I am committed to showing up here next year, 2026, year of momentum. I'm starting it right now on this 3-year anniversary. And remember that no matter where you are in your life and whatever redirection you do decide to take, may you find light in every shift. Until next time.